Hi students, I welcome you all for control system lectures. In the previous class, we have discussed what is stability. We have seen how can we estimate the system stability based on the location of poles in the S-plane. And we have also come across a few examples considering the pole location on right half of S-plane, left half of S-plane, and in the origin, and estimated how the system response would be if we are giving certain input to the system based on the location of poles. So as we have one method of estimating the stability of the closed loop system, why we need to go for another method? The method here is Ruth Howard's criteria. So Ruth Howard's criteria is a method of estimating stability if you have the transfer function of its any form, like it is a characteristic equation of any form. Basically, while estimating the stability, usually whatever we see till now is if we have a transfer function of pole zero form, then we can just by checking the denominator factor, that is characteristic equation, equate it to zero, and we can get the poles of the system. If you have a order of higher order, or like order more than order more than 5 or 10, right, it is very difficult for us to estimate the system stability if we are considering pole zero form. So to overcome this problem, Ruth Howard is the scientist who proposed this method by including a Ruth table, Ruth array. It's a form of a table where we can represent the elements of a transfer function in terms of a tabular form, and we have some set of rules, and we'll go through those rules, and based on those rules we can estimate the system stability. And what are those rules and how can we estimate? We'll consider few examples and solve those numerical problems and estimate the system stability, right? It is a basically estimation of closed loop method, estimation of closed loop system stability, like to estimate the stability for closed loop systems. And one basic problem in this method is we can just tell the pole location, like location in the sense whether it is the right half of S plane or left half of S plane, like or else imaginary axis. But we can't tell exact location of that. We can tell it is lying on left half of S plane, but we don't know where exactly it is lying on the left half of S plane. Right? So like estimate, like based on that we can actually judge the stability. Like to just know the stability, what we have the rule is if the system poles are lying on the left half of S plane, the system is said to be stable, right? So this method tells where where the system poles are lying, not exactly the location, right? That is one drawback of the Ruth Howard's criteria actually. So we'll get into the uh, like what is the method, and we'll see the numerical problems of it. So basically, this method is having two steps. One is generating the root table from the transfer function. Right? Once we get the root table from the transfer function, denominator characteristic equation, denominator factor of transfer function, we can interpret that root table and tell how many closed loop poles are lying on the left half of S plane or right half of S plane or j omega axis, that is imaginary axis, right? So that is how we can estimate the systems. And let us consider a transfer characteristic equation, transfer function where the characteristic equation is the denominator factor. So you can see there an s power n s power n plus an minus 1 s power n minus 1 so on a naught is equal to 0. That is actually we saw till now what is that characteristic equation is about. Here we are not writing this transfer from characteristic equation in terms of s plus a, s into s plus b into s plus c. We are just taking this characteristic equation as it is. Okay? What we are doing here is we are arranging the coefficients of that characteristic equation. So if you see here, this is the characteristic equation they have given, and what in what way we can represent that coefficients is just write down the order of the transfer function on left side column here, s power n, s power n minus 1, so on, s and constant, right? Then whatever the coefficients you have, you can arrange in a first two rows. First row, first element tells the first higher order element of the characteristic equation, coefficient of the characteristic equation. That is an. So then you have to write an minus 1 in the next row. We need to actually construct first two rows initially. Once we construct first two rows based on those elements of first two rows, then we can estimate the other parameters, right? So here consider an, an as the highest power, and an minus 1 in the second row, and again an minus 2 in the first row, second element, and second row second element is an minus 3. You have to go in a zigzag way. An minus 1, an minus 2, an minus 3, an minus 4, an minus 5. Or it is actually simply we can skip one coefficient and write as a sequence. An, skip eliminate an minus 1, write an minus 2 in the, like I'm considering first row. Consider first row, write an, and skip the next element, write the next element again, right? Like sequentially we have to write, right? Eliminating one coefficient at a time. Or else simply to remember, we can write it this way: an minus 1, an minus 2, an minus 3, an minus 4, an minus 5, like in a zigzag way, like of first two rows. Right? Once we see the problems, you'll understand. Like when we are solving the problems, it will be very easy for you to grasp how we can write that. So we have first two rows from the characteristic equation now. Then the third row, first element. To compute that, so here the first element in the third row is B1. Right? So B1 is computed by considering the elements of first row and second row. How to consider that? An minus 1 into an minus 2 minus an into an minus 3 divided by an minus 1. Right? So here you can see, consider first two rows, take the elements of those two rows to compute the third row first element, it is b1. You have to go in a crisscross way, like cross way. An minus 1, an minus 2, then minus an minus 3, an minus an divided by an minus 1. And b2, if you are computing b2, see this first two elements would be common for any element in the row. So an minus 1 will be taken for all the elements as a common. When you are considering B2, you have to skip this like that particular column. Then take the next column. An minus 1, an minus 4 into an minus 1 into an minus 4 minus an minus 5 into an minus an. Right? So you can check B2 here. Similarly, when you're calculating B3, whatever the next term is coming, that is an minus 6, an minus 7 will be there. Right? The next column, fourth column of this matrix, this array will be first element will be an minus 6, an minus 7. Right? So, while considering that, an minus 1 into an minus 6 minus an minus 7 into an divided by an minus 1. So denominator factor will remain same actually. So that is how you can calculate the third row. When you are considering the fourth row, C1, what you have to take is the preceding term, preceding row. Preceding row is B1, B2, B3, right? So when you are considering C1, 1 into an minus 1, n minus 3, sorry, B1 into an minus 3 minus B2 into an minus 1 divided by B1. Similarly, for C2, you have to eliminate this column, take the next column, that is B1 into an minus 5 minus B3 into an minus 1 divided by B1. Similarly, as so on. Right? Hope it was clear how to arrange the table. This is how, like, it will continue till n, like whatever the transfer function order you have. that many rows will come. If you have fifth order, you will get the 5 rows. You have a third order, you get 3 rows, and so on. Okay. Uh, n plus 1 rows actually. If you are having 5 rows, you will get 6. If you are having fifth order, you will get 6 rows. If you have having third order, you will get 4 rows. 4 rows. Right? So we'll check the problems. It will be clear when we start getting the problem. So basically, once you estimate this Ruth table, so the stability is something we need to check with the sign of the first column. See, the first column here is an minus 1, b1, c1, right? So here if you observe, all the signs are positive. So if the signs of Ruth table is positive, then the system is stable. As simple as that. If you are having a sign change, you have to estimate how many sign changes are there. Suppose, for example, in this table, let this b1 is having minus b1. If it is having minus b1, the sign change from a n minus 1 to b1, and again sign change is actually minus here, and sign is changing from minus to plus here. So consider b1 as minus. Usually these are positive, a n minus 1 are positive, then b1 is negative. So sign change, one change in sign, that is positive to negative, is one here, again negative to positive. There are two sign changes. So if you have one sign change, that means one root on the right half of a plane, system is unstable. If you have two sign changes, if you have one negative term in the one element, if you are having a negative sign in between the rows, not in the end of the row, in between the rows, if you are having, that means sign is changing from positive to negative, again changing from negative to positive. Same. Then you have two sign changes. So therefore, you are having two roots on the right half of S plane. Okay, these things we need to just remember because the method proposes in this way. Like we need to check with like these steps we have to remember, like to estimate the stability. There is no other point, right? So yeah, when there is no change in the roots, then the system is said to be stable. If at all you have roots on the like imaginary axis, there are few special cases to be considered. We'll go through that special cases of root stability criteria and estimate the stability. Okay. So let us consider this transfer function here. Simple transfer function of order 4. Like I told, when you have an order of 4, you'll get 5 rows. N plus, if you have order of n, you'll get n plus 1 rows. Right? You can blindly remember order plus 1. That many rows you'll get. Right? So initially you have this is the transfer function. A4 is the coefficient of A4 is the maximum coefficient factor. Okay? Is S4, that coefficient is A4. So how I mentioned is you need to write A4 and A3 in the second row, then first row again A2, then again A1 in the second row, so on, like this. Right? Just skip the elements in between, skip the or like skip the transfer function elements in between. If you are writing first row, take the first element here, then skip the second element and write the third element here. Again skip the fourth element, write the fifth element here. Similarly, since you wrote already the first element of highest order here, so next leftover terms you have to write in the second row. You can go with whichever is simple for you, which can be remembered easily for you. So once you write the first two rows, how to write the third row? Write this A4, A3. That means A4 here, A3 here, A2, A1. Right? Write it this way. It will be easy for you. A4, A3 minus A2, A3 minus A2. Sorry, A3 into A2 minus A4 into A1 divided by A3. Once again, I am repeating A3 into A2 minus A4 into A1 divided by A3. Right? So that is how we'll get in a similar fashion we have to follow for all other elements. So when you computed the third row, the fourth row is dependent on third row again. Here B will come, whatever the B is coming here, B1 is coming here, B1, A1, A3, B2, right? So it's kind of a determinant you have to take. So this is how we first build the truth array. Truth array is built, truth table is built. We need to check the signs of the first column. First column signs you have to check, right? So we'll let us start with the example. Then it will be easy for you. Then like we can estimate the stability based on the first column of truth table. Yeah. So these cases we'll check it. So before checking these cases, I'll just go through the problem directly, right? Let us consider a simple system, second order system. A2 s square plus a1s plus a0. So what are the elements we know? A2, a0, a1, right? So you can arrange these first two rows, A2 here, A1 here, A0 here, like only three elements. A1 into A0 minus A2 into 0 divided by A1, right? So that is how we get B. So once you calculate B1, substitute here, check with the signs. If there is no change in the sign, then system is stable. If there is a change in the sign, compute how many changes in the sign, like how many changes you have seen in the table. Based on that, you can represent a number of poles on the right side, right? Okay. Then actually, as I mentioned, this is as simple as that. We just need to build the table, compute first row, first column elements. Then once computed, check with the signs based on the estimate. But what if we have like zeros in the rows or elements as zeros? So this is the first case where we consider 1 0 the column. Then in the second case, we'll take the whole row with the zeros, elements of zeros, right? Two cases are there. We'll see how to compute it, right? To just estimate the stability, if any zero is there when you're computing, when you're writing the rows table, if you find any zero in the first column, directly you can write it as an unstable system. But the point here is when they ask you for represent number of poles on the right side, number of poles on the left side, if they ask you to represent the pole numbers, number of poles, then you have to follow this special cases and complete the whole table and estimate it. Then how to do it, we'll see. Okay. So first example, s cube plus 6s square plus 12s plus 8. Write down the first two rows from the transfer function, right? Characteristic equation. So you can see the coefficient of s cube is 1, right? The coefficient of s square is 6. That should be in the second row, first element of second row. Then again, second element of first row, right? It is s coefficient, right? Next term will be on the second row. First row, second row, first row, second row, that way it should go, right? Then this is how we get the first two rows. Once you get the first two rows, 6 into 12 minus 8 into 1 by 6, 64 by 6, right? Then if you are going with the second element, what I told is you have to skip this column, second column. So first column and third column you have to consider. As the third column, we have 0. Whatever the things you are multiplying with the 0, you will get 0. Right? 6 into 0 minus 0 into 1 by 6. That is 0. Right? So this is how we'll estimate the table, like we can represent the table. Once the table is represented, we didn't get any negative term here, so we can tell the system is stable. No change in sign here. We have all the positive signs. That means the poles are actually lying on the left half of S plane, right? So the system is stable. Okay. Then consider third order system. We consider second order. If you consider third order, the table will come as 4 rows. Third order, since order is 3, we'll get 4 rows, right? So check with if any sign changes in, like when you are calculating this B1, if you get the negative sign, then check with the change number of changes in the sign, then you can tell that the system is stable or unstable based on the sign, right? So yeah. So one more question they may ask is if they give the k value in the character. So let us consider an example here. S3 plus 3s square plus 3s plus 1 plus k. So they may ask you to find the parameter of k, or they may ask you to find the range from which the k lies if the system is said to be stable. So what they gave in the question, determine the range of the k, range of value of system parameter k for which the system is stable. As we know, the system is stable if the first column of root table is positive. Just construct the root table will construct and will write the parameter with respect to k, substitute with respect to k. And what we know here, 8, what we got here is 8 minus k by 3. What they said is system is stable. System is stable is means is positive, right? Now, if you equate this to 0, if you substitute any value of k, what value of k if you substitute, you will get the negative term. Here it is 8, equate it to 0, and substitute some random values of k starting from 0, right? You may get the this third element, like the first element of the third row as negative if the k is greater than 8, right? So 8 minus k greater than 0, that at this is the actually the maximum range. So minimum range is when you substitute the k equal to minus 1. When you substitute k equal to minus 1, what you get here? What you get when you substitute k equal to, you got equal to 0, that means k equal to minus 1. That is minimum actually. Right? For all other values, you try to substitute all other values, the system will go to unstable. Only if you substitute k in between minus 1 and 8, the system will be stable. Right? So this is how they may give a question to estimate the k from the root table. Then, yeah. So actually, when I started the topic, what I mentioned is the stability of system, closed loop system can be estimated using Routh-Hauer-State criteria. Sometimes they may give a transfer function g of s. G of s is open loop transfer function. Right? So once they give the open loop transfer function, they'll mention in the question. They'll simply mention the open loop transfer function of unity feedback system. Unity feedback is equal to 1. That means you have to consider the feedback equation, that is g of s by 1 plus g of s, right, equal to 0. Once you consider, you have to write that and take the denominator of closed loop equation, not open loop equation. They may give open loop transfer function. Here in the example, they gave 1000 divided by s plus 2 plus s plus 2 into s plus 3 into s plus 5. So that is open loop transfer function. What you have to take, that is g of s, you have to substitute g of s by 1 plus g of s as a closed loop equation. Then whatever the transfer function you are getting from that denominator we have to consider. So this closed loop transfer function here, what you got is 1000 by s square plus 10s square plus 31s plus 1030, right? So for this transfer function, take the denominator and build a truth table. So what we get here, truth table you can see here, the first element s cube, order of s cube, order of 3. The first coefficient of characteristic equation is 1. Then The second coefficient is 10. Then you have to write here. So if the third coefficient is 31, you can write it here. Fourth coefficient is 1030, you can write it here. Then no other terms, we can make it 0 and 0. So since these are factorized, 10 and 1030 can be factorized, we can take the factor and cancel out. Or else you can keep as it is, but when you are cancelling it, it will be easy for you to calculate when you are calculating for next term, right? So if you are not interested to cancel out, you keep as it is and go further calculating the other parameters, other elements of the truth table. So the third element, what you get is 1, here also 1, 31 and 103 divided by 1. Right? This one, what you get is, you calculate 1 into 31 minus 103 into 1, you'll get 72, right? So this is how to, like this is just a determinant. Then we'll substitute it and we'll calculate. So what is the value you got here? Minus 72. Remember, if you are getting a negative term, the system is unstable. But if they ask you how many poles are lying on the right half of S plane, you have to check with the signs, change in the sign. As you see the coefficient here, S square coefficient is positive 1, it is positive, and it is shifted from positive to negative when you are writing for S coefficient. And again it shifted from negative to positive when you are writing S power 0. Right? How many changes actually? Changes means positive to negative is one change, negative to positive is another change. Right? So two changes. Right? So therefore, from this we can estimate that there are two poles lying on the right half of this plane. Right? So this is how we can estimate the system if you have a simple transfer function and without any zeros in the transfer function. Right? We'll see one more example. So here is one more example they have given. 2s power 4 plus s cube plus 3s square plus 5s plus. So as simple as that, we can just construct the table from first two rows by using a characteristic equation. Then follow the procedure as mentioned before, right? So here also, if you observe here, minus 7 we got as the first column element. We got one negative term. 1 to minus 7 is one sign change, and minus 7 to 6.43 is another sign change. Therefore, we have two sign changes in the first column of truth table. Therefore, the two roots are lying on the right half of S plane. Two poles are lying on the right half of S plane. Right? So yeah, now we'll consider the case studies. Right? I hope till here it is clear how to estimate the stability based on root stability criteria. So what if you have a zero element in the first column? Again here actually, see here same example we'll take, old example. Yeah. Here if you are calculating instead of minus 7, if you get 0, we can't further proceed because there is a 0 here. If you multiply anything with a 0 and divide anything with a 0, because see when you are writing the next step, what happens is we have to consider this element. If it is 0, when you are calculating for the next element, this 7 is minus 7 is coming in the denominator here. So if it is 0, if the denominator is 0, then what happens? Something by 0 is infinity. Anything, any some value divided by 0 is infinity. No, the system, if it is infinity, what the system is telling? The output is going to infinity means what? It is actually unstable, right? So that is how, this is the reason we have to eliminate the 0, or we have to use approximations. So this is one method here. If you have any zero, single 0 in the first column, we have to use stability based on epsilon method. So basically mathematically epsilon is a small integer, small positive value. In mathematics, epsilon is represented as a small value. Usually the value of epsilon is given as 2.22 into 10 power minus 16. check the value of epsilon, it is actually a 0.16 zeros and 2. The value is 2.2 into 10 power 2.22 into 10 power minus 16, right? So we'll get 0.16 zeros and 2. It is almost equal to 0, right? But sensibly it is not 0, it is just, we can represent it as a 0 plus, small value nearer to 0, but not 0. So we can, if you get any 0 value, we can approximate that 0 to nearest positive value, right? Substitute epsilon and apply the limit s tends to 0. Epsilon tends to 0 because actual value is 0, right? So we need to take, when you are taking epsilon, some value as approximation, we have to tell that tends to 0 actually. That limit tends to 0. So what we'll do is, instead of writing 0 here, instead of writing epsilon here, like epsilon 0 here, we'll write epsilon and compute the next steps based on this epsilon value. So when you're substituting, what do you get in the next step? Epsilon into 5 minus 1 into 10 by epsilon. So epsilon is some positive value. Then we can write the conditions at what range of epsilon the system is stable. We'll see that. And that is one method, by substituting epsilon to compute this like truth table. You can compute that way. Or else, if you have a characteristic equation this way, you can simply take the corresponding reciprocal of s to some value, say x. Reciprocal of x is equal to s equal to 1 by x. Simply substitute reciprocal of s in x in s. What you get here? 2 into 1 by x power 4, 1 by x cube plus 1 by x cube plus 3 into 1 by x square, like so on. Then whatever the s power you are getting, maximum s power, it will actually it will actually go to the right half of it. See here, if you are writing 1 by x power 4, x power 4 maximum order of x power 4 is here. When you are taking the LCM, so it will be that x power 4 will go here actually, 10 into x power 4, right? Since you have s here, what happens is 5x square, x is x cube actually, because actually one x cube here, s here, right? When it comes here, what happens? We are multiplying s power 4, that means 1 by x power 4 here. So what you get is 5x cube, right? Just substitute 1 by x and solve for it. Substitute s equal to 1 by x and solve for that characteristic equation. We will see that how it behaves. We'll see. We have given problems on that, right? See here, actually, I gave 1 by z actually. You can substitute x equal to 1 by z and rewrite the characteristic equation. Rewrite and solve for that. Right? Once you rewrite and solve, actually you won't get 0 in the first column. Try to do it, and if at all you are getting 0, then we have to use the epsilon method. Right? I have given examples also for that. We'll check it. Right? The first method is stability via epsilon method. What I have done, consider some transfer function s power 5 plus 2 s power 4 plus 2 s cube plus 4 s square plus 10 11s plus 10, right? So write down the root table from first two elements, the first two rows. What you get is s power 5, coefficient of s power 5 is 1, coefficient of s power 4 is 2, write it down. Quotient of s cube is 2, write on the first row, second element. Quotient of s is 11, sorry, s cube. Yeah, coefficient of s square is 4, yeah, down there. And coefficient of s is 11, right there. And leftover constant is 10. So we filled the first two rows. Now what we have to do? If you calculate, what you get, 2 into 2 minus 4 into 1 by 2. 2 into 2 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. So what we got here itself is 0. So substitute epsilon here. Smallest positive value is epsilon, substitute it there. So when you're calculating epsilon here, and the next term you can calculate 2 into 11 minus 10 into 1 by 2. You get 6. Then when you are calculating the next term, you have to make use of this epsilon. Right? So here actually C1, let us consider the s square coefficient, first element of s square coefficient is C1 4e, that means here actually 4 epsilon into 4 into epsilon minus into 2 divided by epsilon. So 2 is 12, right? So minus 12 by epsilon. What you get C1 is minus 12 by epsilon. That means we are getting a negative term of epsilon. So choose the values of epsilon, substitute some values of epsilon. What you get is, if you are substituting epsilon is equal to 1, you get minus 12. Then what happens? Minus 12 means system is unstable because you have a minus sign. Right? There are two sign changes if you are considering epsilon is equal to 1. Right? Similarly, you can calculate d1 here. How to calculate d1? 6 into c1 minus 10 into epsilon by c1. Right? So there are two sign changes due to large negative value. If you are taking a larger negative value, like any value more than 1, any value more than like positive real values, C1 is minus 12, you will get one sign change. Therefore, the system is unstable. So, based on the epsilon value, we can estimate the system is stable or unstable. We consider epsilon as a negative value. Suppose epsilon is a negative 1, minus 1. Minus minus will get cancelled out. And you will get C1 as positive. But actually what we consider for epsilon is minus value. So, sign change will be there from 2 to epsilon and epsilon to C1. Right? So, in that way, we can actually estimate stability and locate the poles. Like not locate, like just we can tell the poles. We can't locate it. Where exactly the location we can't know, but we'll be knowing how many are there on right side, how many are there on left side. That way we can understand, right? So that is how we have to substitute. It's okay. Then one more point here is what if see if the old example what they gave is a simple transfer function characteristic equation with some numerical values. What if they give some k value here? See this example. What they asked, determine the range of parameter k such that system will become unstable. Right? Just substitute the first two rows. Write down like whatever you are getting 1 into 1 minus 1 into 1 by 1, that is epsilon. Right? Then for k, 1 into k minus 0 into 1, that is 0, that is k. Whatever you get is k. So you got epsilon here. What they told, so to tell the system as unstable, what should be the k value? What is the range of k value to be selected if the system is unstable? Suppose, for example, in this first column, right, to compute C1, epsilon minus epsilon into 1 minus k into 1 by epsilon, right, minus k by epsilon. C1 is minus k by epsilon. So any value greater than 0, any k value substitute and greater than 0, the system is unstable. Just substitute it and check in this epsilon value, right? If you substitute k value as 1, what happens? What happens? Minus k minus 1. Minus 1 is change in one sign here from the C1. If you take a positive value, what happens? See here actually if you are taking a k as a higher value, epsilon will be minus here. Epsilon will be smaller value and overall C1 will become negative. If you are taking epsilon as a maximum value, epsilon is a maximum value, since epsilon is in the denominator here, suppose if your epsilon is 10, 10 minus k is something like less than 1 or 2, 10 minus 2 is 8, 8 by 10. it is positive, right? So for any k value, the first element, if any value greater than 0, the system is unstable. For any value where the k value is a negative, the system is unstable. Consequently, the system is unstable for all values of k, right? So you can just substitute the value of k and check whether the system is becoming positive, or system like the column of root table is becoming positive or negative. So consider one more example here. 10 by s power 5 plus 2s power 4 plus 3s cube plus 6s square plus 5s plus 3, right? So construct a root table again. So here this example I gave to estimate the stability based on the values we choose for epsilon, right? Once you construct, you can check these are the this is the table we get, and once you construct the truth table, check with the epsilon parameters, s square coefficient and s coefficient. We have the function of epsilon, right? What if you have a positive epsilon? Consider the positive epsilon here. So substitute positive epsilon, like here, if you consider a positive epsilon, this 3 positive. Here if you put positive epsilon, say 1, 6, 6 into 1 minus 7 by 1. What you get is minus 1. So epsilon is minus 1. Right? So substitute any other epsilon value here in the s coefficient. 1 here. What if you substitute 1? 42 into 1 minus 49 minus 6 into 1 square. That is minus 49 minus 6 is minus 55, and it is 42. Again, numerator is having a negative term. So therefore, and actually epsilon is 1, right? 2 minus minus in denominator also we have actually higher negative value. So minus minus get cancelled out, and what you get here is positive. Similarly, substitute epsilon is equal to minus here, and check with what values of epsilon you get a positive first column or a negative first column. Right? This is how we can estimate the system stability based on epsilon. Right? So yeah, yeah, and one more method as I mentioned, substitute s equal to 1 by z. That is a reversal coefficient method proposed by Phillips in 1991. So whatever, this is as simple as the first case what we see. If you are not having any zero in the in the first column, we are just solving for the root table and checking with the sign changes. Here also we substitute the value of s equal to 1, the term s equal to 1 by x or 1 by z, and solve for that characteristic equation. Here actually what we did here, you can see here, determine the closed loop transfer function. So transfer function they have given, and what I have done here is s power 5 plus 2s, this is actually transfer function, and take s equal to 1 by x. What you get here, maximum power will go here, and after that this one, after that this, and it will come in a negative way. Here 3s power 5, 5s power 4, 6s cube, 3s square, 2s plus 1. See, same equation you get if you substitute s equal to minus 1 by z. It will come in a z form. You can just substitute and check it. And then for this is actually called reciprocal roots, right? Polynomial equation with reciprocal roots. Once you substitute s equal to 1 by x, you get this polynomial equation. Then for this polynomial equation, write down the root table and follow the same procedure which we followed for the first case, right? Simple. Here if you substitute for this example, there is one negative sign change. The sign is changing from positive to negative and negative to positive. Two sign changes. Two roots are lying on the right half of its plane. System is unstable, right? So here the second case is if you have an entire row as 0, right? If you have entire row as 0, what we have to take is auxiliary polynomial. How to calculate the auxiliary polynomial? So initially start with the step of computing a characteristic equation, substitute root, and if you observe here, the third row you will get a 0 on the whole row. Once you check with the whole row coming 0, becoming 0, what you have to take is the preceding row. That is here actually s cube you are getting 0. You have to take the preceding row, that is s power 4, and s power 4 row equation. That equation is called the polynomial auxiliary polynomial p of s, right? See here this example, what is s power 4? 1 6s square, and like 1 means actually a power of s power 4, right? 1 into s power 4, 6 into s square plus 8. So for this you have to take a differentiation. Differentiate that auxiliary polynomial, right? Then solve for that differential equation. Whatever you are getting the differential equation after differentiating the preceding term, that you have to substitute in the instead of 0. Right? Now, what are the coefficients you got? 4, 12, and 0. Substitute here 4, 12, and 0. Since they are actually factorial factors of each other, and 4, you can cancel out 4, 4 ones, 4 threes. So 1 and 3 are the new elements. 1 and 3 are the new elements. See in the table, what I am giving is the first step to last step from left to right. First step to last step from left to right. Initially, you got zeros for all elements. Then what you got is 4 and 12 and 0. 4, 12, and 0. So factorize, we get 1, 3, and 0. Then after this, the procedure is as same as the procedure which we followed. So when you have entire like entire uh, entire elements as 0, actually the one more information what it gives is if you have entire elements as 0, that means the pole will be lying on the imaginary axis. Remember, if you get the whole row as 0, that means it tells the information that your system is having imaginary poles, imaginary and imaginary poles, complex poles. Okay, so in this, like we'll consider three cases here. What you have a poles with the imaginary axis and real axis, right? So you can observe here in this diagram, A is a complex conjugate. Here A, whatever the A is positive A, same distance we have the other pole as a negative A. In this case, system is unstable because you are having the pole on right half of its plane. In the first case, the blue line, real and symmetric about the origin. They are real and symmetric. Whatever the distance of pole from the origin on the left hand side, the same distance you have the pole on the right hand side. Right? So since the pole is there on the right hand side, it is unstable. If you are considering this case. So this case is possible if you have whole row as 0. So if the whole row of your root table is becoming 0, you will get three cases. First case is you will get the complex conjugate, you will get the real and symmetric poles on the origin, real, imaginary and symmetric poles on the origin, about the origin, that means here B and B, they are equidistant from the origin, same distance from the origin, they are actually symmetric of the origin and they are imaginary poles. So there is a chance that if B is lying on the imaginary axis, there is a chance that B can be like marginally stable. Like it may come to a stable state, right? But if you observe C, the reciprocal of quadratal and symmetric. C here is having the same reciprocal here. Actually, C that is lying on the right hand side, so it is unstable. So here in these three cases, A, B, and C, there is a chance that B can become stable. But in other two cases, C, A, and C, the system is purely unstable. Definitely unstable system because it is having The poles are the right half of S plane, A and C. Consider the example here. Determine the number of poles on the right half of S plane, left half of S plane, and j omega axis. So as I mentioned, the Routh-Hurwitz criteria will tell you how many poles are there. That's it, but not the location of poles. And and stability basically stability, and it tells number of poles actually lying. Why it is stable? Number of poles are there on right hand side. That's why it is unstable. Why it is stable? All the poles are lying on the left half of S plane. That's why it is stable, right? And based on that, we can tell that stability. That is secondary. But how many are there? How many are there? Quantity. How many are there on right hand side? How many are there on left hand side? How many are there on the j omega axis, imaginary axis, right? But how far it is located from the origin? What is the location of the pole? It can't change. We can't judge it. Okay. So consider this example. So you can see here, this example, a maximum factor is s power 8, right? So how many rows we get is 9, n plus 1. Right? So first two rows we know, we can get it from the characteristic equation, right? So the compute it and check. So what we did here, s power 6, power 6 actually having, when you're calculating, we got the factor of 10. So we calculated and cancelled out all the 10s, wrote it in terms of minus 1, minus 2. Calculating here till here, you got minus 1. So if the question they ask to tell the condition of stability, you can stop here itself, because you already got a minus 1 here. Minus 1 is system is unstable. If they ask you to tell how many are there, then you have to proceed with the further step, right? So when you are calculated, you will get 0, right? 0 in s cube term, 0, 0, 0, zeros in s cube. And what we told, when you are getting s cube as 0, you have to take auxiliary polynomial with s power 4. S power 4, so p of s is s power 4 plus 3s square plus 2, equated to 0. Find the differential equation of that. Differentiate with the respect to s. What you get is 4s cube plus 6, 4s cube plus 6s. So again, it is a factor of 2. I cancelled out and wrote it 2 and 3. So if you observe here, there is actually a row with all zeros. So in this situation, we actually what we did, we found the auxiliary polynomial and wrote the whole row. Right? So once we return that whole row, then we can proceed next rows as same as the procedure. So that is how we fill this Routh table. Fill this Routh table. Then now they will ask how many poles are there. How many poles are lying on the left hand side? How many poles are lying on the right hand side? How many poles are on the imaginary axis? If you observe the Routh table, where you got actually the 0, the s cube term, and auxiliary equation we are considering as s power 4. How many are there before s power 4? Right? 4 rows are there. Since the order is 8th order, we know the order is 8th. How many even, how many odd? Right? So over here, before 0 you get how many sign changes are there? How many sign changes before you get the like row as 0? Two sign changes. 1 to minus 1, minus 1 to 1. So before s power 4, you get two sign changes. That means already two poles are lying on the right half of S plane. So that is fine. Other two would be lying on the left half of S plane. Okay, right? Two are lying on the left half of, two are lying on the right half of. So other four are actually lying on the j omega axis. Right? Other four are lying on the j omega axis. How to estimate that? Once you get this equation, s power 4, 3s square and 2, you have to divide this auxiliary equation with actual characteristic equation. Actual characteristic equation you have to divide by using auxiliary equation. Then find the divisor, whatever the solution you get after dividing it. Based on that solution, the roots of that solution tells you how many poles are lying on the imaginary axis. Remember, once you find the auxiliary equation, that is s power 4, like the row of s power 4 here, once you find that, then take that function, auxiliary equation function, auxiliary polynomial, and you divide actual characteristic equation with that. Actual characteristic equation is this, the denominator factor. You have to divide with auxiliary equation, then find the roots. Simple division, you can find the roots, and once you find the roots, based on those roots, you can tell how many are lying on the j omega axis, how many lying on the uh, as we know how many lying on the right hand side and left hand side simply by sign change. But for j omega axis, you have to take auxiliary equation and divide actual characteristic equation with auxiliary equation, right? So similar problem, we can check it here. Similar problem as that of the old problem. So the open loop transfer function is given. We convert into in terms of closed loop and represent it here, and check how many write the rows table. Here in this example, we didn't get any zero in the row. All the elements we are getting as a proper numbers, real numbers. But there is a sign change here, positive to negative, negative to positive. Sign changes. That means two poles on the right hand side, two poles on the left hand side, and no poles on the j omega axis, imaginary axis. No poles are there. Since there are two poles on the right half of S plane, the system is unstable. Similarly, another example here. Same way, whatever we actually followed for that, we can actually tell here. Actually, you can see where we are getting zero here. All the zeros we are getting, and s power 5. That is the fourth row we are getting all the elements as zero. Once you get that, what is the auxiliary polynomial? The equation we can write it for s power 6. S power 6, 8s power 4, 32 s square plus 64. That is auxiliary equation. Differentiate it, right? Differentiate with respect to s, then write it down. You will get 6, 32, 64, and 0. As all the three elements are factors, we can factorize with 3. 3, 16, and 32 you will get. 3, 16, and 32. Right? So here, before your actual zeros are arriving, how many poles are there? Before auxiliary equation, how many poles are there? Two poles. No sign change. So all those two poles are lying on the left half of S plane. So after that, what you have to check? After that, you can just simply follow. After that auxiliary polynomial, check with the sign change. You are getting sign change at S cube. 1 to minus my like my s power 4 to s power 3, s power 3 to s power 2. There is sign change. Two sign changes. So two poles lying on the right half of S plane. Right? We already know two poles before, but after auxiliary equation, right? Auxiliary polynomial, that is after s power 6, right? After s power 6, two sign changes from the even polynomial, that is two poles lying on the right half of S plane, and we know two are lying on the right half of S plane, and we can write that characteristic equation divide with actual characteristic function. For auxiliary equation can be divided with actual characteristic equation to find the roots of j omega axis, right? We'll do one problem for that. Like I'll do it in white notes, white book, and share it. So this is how we can represent the condition of stability. Sometimes they may ask you to find the range of k. this is the actual question. Like usually in gate, they may ask this kind of questions. We need to estimate the value of k. They will be giving the transfer function, open loop transfer function, convert into closed loop transfer function, build a Ruth array. Then once you build a Ruth array, form the equations, check the values of k. For which values of k you get positive or negative. What question they asked? What is the value of k you select, or the range of k you select the system to be stable, unstable, and marginally stable? For all the three conditions they asked. So you can take it here. Substitute k is equal to actual 1386. So here the whole row becomes zero, right? Whole row becomes zero is obviously unstable, right? Then what if your k value is greater than 1386? Substitute some value greater than 1386, you will get a negative term, right? 1386 divided by 18. If it is greater than 1386, you will get the system is unstable. If it is less than 1386, the system is stable actually. So if it is equal to 1386, you will get 0. Then do that auxiliary form and find the number of roots. Okay, this question you can take it as assignment. Whatever the like methods we follow, steps we follow till now, you can make use of that and estimate the roots, right? Estimate the stability and locate number of poles on left half of S plane, right half of S plane, and imaginary axis. So that's it for today's class. We'll meet you in the next class. Thanks for your attention.